Have you been daydreaming about starting your own plants from seeds, but maybe you feel a little too overwhelmed at what all it takes to start up and the cost involved? Well, then you should stick around because I have a budget-friendly setup that I'm going to share with you today. Alright guys, starting seeds can sound fairly complicated when you start looking into it, but it really doesn't have to be. And to be honest, you can start with basic things that you have around the house. You really don't need to go purchase a whole lot of materials. For instance, let me show you what my husband has set up for me here, just using some scrap lumber that he had in our own garage. The first thing you really need to think about when you go to figure out where you're gonna do the seed starting and have your setup is what kind of space do I have? Because plants take up a lot of real estate. Most people will go with a shelving type of unit. However, you could just use a countertop if that's all you have. You can use your floor if that's all you have. Here you can see that my husband took scrap lumber and built me a shelving unit in our own garage. But you can start this in a room in your house. You can start in your basement, your garage. You really just don't need a whole lot. And if you really want a shelving unit, they also have plastic and metal shelving units that you can pick up at your local hardware store or Walmart. And some of the plastic ones I've seen, $20, $30, and there you go. You got a place to put a bunch of plants. Once you have figured out where these plants are going to go, then you can figure out what you're actually going to start your plants in. And so that can be a lot of different things. You can look on Amazon. You can see some links I have in the description of where I've bought things like this. But honestly, you don't have to purchase a whole lot. You can use Solo cups, drill some holes in them, and there you go. Voila. Now you can start your own seeds in something like this. Whatever you have on hand works. Once you have your containers figured out, then you may want to think of a secondary type of container that is going to catch any water drainage from this when you water your plants. And so you can actually purchase these types of containers off of Amazon. Links will be provided in the description. However, if you don't have the time to wait on them coming in because you're starting late in the season, you can just use those dollar rotisserie pans from the dollar store or from Walmart, and that'll work just fine. More than likely, you already have some in your kitchen. So now let's talk dirty. There's always some playing in the dirt, which is halfway the reason you're gonna wanna start seeds because it's a lot of fun. But you do need to think about what type of dirt you're going to use. This is actually what I have on hand that I have been using this year. However, in the past, I have made my own seed starting mix. It's more affordable usually if you make it yourself. However, there are tons of brands. Just go with whatever is in your budget and whatever you have time for. Lately, I have a 4-month-old. I have not had time to mix up my own dirt. So this worked out for me this season. One thing you really don't want to forget about when doing your setup for seed starting is light. Let's talk about what lights we chose for our setup. I think you'll like them, especially if you're on a budget. We actually purchased 5000K shop lights that you can purchase off of Amazon, Walmart, hardware stores should have them. They are affordable. These were like about $20 a piece. I actually think they were less than that. I think they were more like $18 a piece. But who knows, prices on everything are going up. So let's just say 20. So there are two really cool things about the specific type of shop lights that we chose. And one of them is that it comes with a chain, so you are able to easily make adjustments to where the lights are as your plants grow, which is very important. As well as another important thing to think about is these lights didn't have to be hardwired in. They literally can just be plugged into an outlet. So now that you have your lights, then you really need to think about, well, am I gonna have to go turn this light off after 18 hours and really think about it? To make our lives easier where we didn't have to keep up with that as much and kind of automate it, because everything that's automated in life makes things a little bit easier, is we use one of these, and it is just a receptacle timer that you can set to whatever time off and time on you want. So what we do is we have multiple lights that we plug into a multi-strip outlet that we then plug that outlet into this timer, and then this is what is plugged into our wall. You can pick these up just about anywhere. I really just want to mention that this is a very minimalistic setup that we have here. Like I said, very cost effective. If you watch other seed starting setup videos, you're gonna see that some of them recommend quite a lot of materials. One thing that I have found that people will recommend is just a heat mat. And I just haven't purchased any. We're in a heated and cooled environment in our garage, so it wasn't as big of a deal to me. You may want to look into that. However, they say you can't start peppers, without this heat mat. Well, here's proof that you can start those peppers. Not everything that people recommend means you need to go out and buy this season, especially if you just don't have the money for it. Now that we have shelving, we have some lights, we have some dirt, some containers, we kind of need some seeds. So you'll go and purchase some seeds. Get them anywhere. You see them all over the place come spring season. You see them in hardware stores. You see them at Walmart. You can buy them online. However, shipping has been crazy on seeds lately, so I recommend probably just going somewhere local. But purchase your seeds and have fun with it. That's the beauty of having your own seed starting setup. You don't have to have just what your local nurseries have. You literally can explore and try different varieties of all sorts of different plants. So I say just go for it. Those seed packets really add up, and you really have to think about how you're going to organize those. My husband built this little shelving unit type thing for me to organize mine. However, literally this is what I started with doing, was just envelopes, putting when I'm going to be sowing them. Is it after the frost or is it before the frost? Are they indoor sown? So you'll want to think about that. You can use Ziploc bags. It doesn't have to be anything fancy. No matter what, you're going to come out with the same outcome. But you can see here, if you do plan on saving your own seeds, I have ordered some seed packets and printed some labels for my own seeds during the year that I save. And there are some videos on our channel showing you how we save, for example, marigold seeds. So along with the obvious things like the seeds in the dirt, you need some water to start these plants. They will not grow. Most of them will not grow if you just leave them in a dry environment. You can supply water in multiple ways. You may want to think about water when you're figuring out exactly where to have your setup in your house. For us, if you're not close to a sink, you can just have some watering containers or some spray bottles. Both work really well. Obviously, there are more expensive options available as well. There are little watering setups where you don't have to remember it as much, but I just usually try and come down to the garage and water them every day, at least once a day. So when you go to plant a bunch of seeds, you're gonna have to have a way of keeping up with what seeds are what. And so you're going to want to do some sort of labeling system. Don't have to buy anything for it. I literally have these little tabs cut out of cardstock, and you could also use some sort of tape like I have here. And just label them, permanent marker, pen. One thing I have found that doesn't work as great with these is that when they get water on them continuously, it can make it where the words aren't readable anymore. So you may want to think about that. That's why you'll see these kind of bent back where they do not get wet. Another thing I highly recommend to use is some sort of plant journal, a notebook, whatever it is, piece of paper. Just write down what days you start which seeds, because that lets you kind of know, okay, well, when do they need to be potted up? When do they need to go outside? And it helps you when planning for the next year's seeds of deciding, should I start those 2 weeks earlier, or was my garage overflowing and I needed to start them later in the season? That journal is really nice to be able to go back and look at and decide on those things. Well, that is it for today's video, guys. Thank you for joining me. I hope that I have inspired you to do your very own seed starting setup in a very budget-friendly way with whatever you may have on hand. I really have enjoyed sharing our setup with you. If you like this video, then please subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up and the notification bell, and that will let you know anytime we release new videos in the future. Also, if you're super into gardening, you may want to follow the channel just to see our Back to Eden garden style method. We have a lot of videos on that. God bless you guys. See you on the next video.